All right, hello everyone. Mr. Barden here again. So this video, I'm hoping it's actually going to be just a little bit on the shorter side. So in the last one, if you're watching all of these in the order that I record them, I talked a bit about how you could make some sequences and implement that in order to make your synthesizers play melodies. Now that's not the only thing you can do with sequences. In fact, you can do a whole lot of things with them. So I'm going to talk a bit about them. You'll see some examples and things like that. I'm not going out of my way to make a specific code example for this. If I do anything, I've got a duplicated version of the code from the last video here. So if we need to do anything here, there's a link to that in the description for this video. There's also a link to this chapter right here, as well as the tone reference materials if you want that. The reason I'm not doing that is because this is, again, some more advanced stuff that you don't necessarily need for the context of the course that this is for. But I'm still making it because it's good information to know, and depending on the context of what you want to do, this could be very useful for you. So starting up here, I've got the online textbook for this class pulled up. And I've looked through this a bit in the last video. This is just about building up a basic sequence, using the transport, follow these steps and you'll have it play your melody. So here's this one. This one goes da 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 da, and so on. It plays some notes. But we have that all right there. That shouldn't be anything super new. And again, this is using like musical pitches and other things like that to reference our notes. If you need more information on that, check out the immediately previous video to this one, and you'll see that. But there's more things we can do. So, I'm just going to get a little bit into the nitty gritty of what some of this is. So, a sequence is made up of multiple events. Okay, an event is a thing that happens. Play this note, and then the sequence goes to the next event, which is play the next note, and so on. But we can do multiple things. These are some more of the useful parameters. So, loop, these are going to start, stop, mute, playback, things like that. It's all useful things that you tell the code to do at this moment in time. I've got this example right here. And basically, we can start it. We can start an event. We can do some ramping of things. We can stop it. Nothing's there. Why isn't this doing anything? I started the transport. Well, this code might have broken at some point, but the transport should be starting. Stop, start. Well, for some reason that's not working, but we could set it up so it played different events and we would play around with all that. I'm gonna have to revise this code because for whatever reason it's not. Okay, but a part, as we move along, is a collection of multiple events, and I'm gonna have to double check all of these things, but what we can set up with a part here, and it's essentially just a collection of events. So we can say, and this time I was going to do chords. So will this one work? Alright, so we've got that set up. I'm just going to kind of let this play a bit as I kind of explain some of what's going on here. So let's see. Actually, that's going to bother me. Stop part. So we've got our part, stop part. There we go. So we've got our part here. This is just saying, hey, play this chord, and it's going to trigger the stuff, and we're setting up, it's going to loop for it's going to be 4 measures, play it, do all the setting all the things. But basically, we can take this. There we are. This score, which is a collection of the different parts. So it's saying play, do 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 do. And so that's how we got that melody. The measure one, measure two, measure three, beat three. So we get. There we are. And so on. You can change all that, but the score is essentially just a collection of the different parts. It's an array, and each element in the array is an object saying, we're going to play the time thing, and we're going to play, these notes right here. So again, we can give it the score to control all the parts, and that can be used to set up these chord progressions and things like that. For a lot of my classes, I just keep it at the melody. But again, if you wanted to have chords, this is one way you could set that up to have your synthesizer play all the things. So definitely check out some of this. Okay. So the last thing I think I'm going to go over here, I may do sound effects, we'll see, but is scheduling signals. This is the main core of what I wanted to talk about today. So once you've made a synthesizer, or really any object, you can set up a transport here, and this will be able to adjust certain values. So we can set value at time, so give it a value and a time to do that. We can do ramps, we can do all kinds of stuff. So it's pretty useful. This is just going into that time and music notation with the in numbers or in seconds. If you do it a string, it's the same kind of thing of measure two, beat one, second subdivision of that, and so on. You can set up the strings as your different things. So T is for triplets, N is for notes, M is for measures, and so on. You can add a period for the so you can really specify whatever musical rhythm you want. If you add a plus to that, then it's that far in the future from the time that was triggered. So I've got a few examples right here. And basically this is just going to be applying some different ramps and things over time. So basically what's going to happen is I've got envelope right there, and then I've got a noise filter, so it's just going to make a new bit of noise, and then it's going to be at that frequency, pink noise. These are just making the buttons, so I'm going to do tone.start, so yes, trigger attack release. I'm just reading through all this to make sure I'm not missing anything important, because it's been a hot second since I've done this. Here. So what this will do is this will, make the synthesizer make a noise, and then here we have noise, the name of our synthesizer, dot volume, the property we want, and then the linear ramp to value at time. So we're going to, in this case, ramp to the value of -30 to get to that at 2 seconds in the future. So we should get so that's ramping the volume versus so we can set a value. We can just do some more rampings. And so, but basically the idea is that you can change the value of these properties intelligently. You don't have to specifically do a slider or a random bit, but you can set it to automatically and intelligently move from one thing to another. So here we have exponential ramp to value. We got there, and then it resets after 4 seconds to get to that. So that's why this changed. And all that. So you can set these set value at times and ramping and things like that in order to make your things automatically change and adjust. So again, that's a very useful tool, so you can schedule all of these events to happen. Um, and then we can use the LFO object as a way to kind of make that ramping automatically happen, but it's just LFO stands for low frequency oscillator. So it's just kind of moving slowly between the high and low values. So you could connect things there. So, I'm going to connect the LFO to the pan of the panner here and start it. And you'll see that it does that. Is that what this one does? And also, yes, we have the auto pan, so that's gonna connect this. So we should start it. Well, we should have started it. Again, I have to double check some of these. It doesn't like to work for whatever reason anymore. But it did the last time I looked at this page, so I don't know what's angry. But that's it. We can just use the LFO to also adjust things. There's more information in this book on extra libraries for rhythms and scales and tuning. I'm not going to go through that. I very rarely do when I'm teaching this class, but there is more stuff you can check out. Um, you can play around with different effects and stuff. It's fun to check out. So definitely look at that. I'm gonna end this video pretty soon. Again, this was a pretty short one. I wasn't really expecting to do any coding, so and I didn't. I just kind of went through the textbook chapter. Big overview kind of stuff, nothing too fancy. Again, I'm actually leaving a fair bit of this out in my personal classroom this year, mostly for the sake of time. Uh, and I guess this is kind of optional, but it's helpful to know. Depends on the context of what you want to do. My next one, I'm going to talk about uh, this last section in the chapter here, or actually this is a whole new chapter if I want to get technical. But basically that'll just be implementing the sounds here in a game, whether that's having the sounds play back at different instances in your game, having the melodies play and change and things of that nature. It's all going to be implemented in a game that uses P5 play. So we'll take all the stuff from the previous units and combine it together. That will be the last lesson in this section right here before we get into Arduino things. And I'll have a whole bit of videos about that as we go. So that's going to wrap it up for me.